are not aware of it, we're a 100% volunteer organization. We're a 501c3 not-for-profit. And myself, I've been involved with the museum for over 30 years. My name is John Sudo. I'm the current president of the museum, and I'm extremely proud today to be able to present and once again bring history to life. That's the one thing that we do specialize here in the museum. At the west end of the platform, we have representative locomotives, Mr. Wick Mormon, Chief Executive Officer of the Norfolk Southern Railroad, personally approved these two locomotives traveling to Monticello today to participate in this ceremony. And symbolically, at the west end of the Wabash locomotive is actually the Monticello Railway Museum's locomotive. And one of the things we wanted to do is symbolically, one of Abraham Lincoln's great visions was to have the transcontinental railroad, but literally today we're linking the continent from Pacific coast to Atlantic coast with a representative of the Norfolk Southern Railroad here today. The Wabash Railroad, for those of you who are aware that just south of here at Mint, on the trip to Washington, D.C. from Springfield, Abraham Lincoln rode east on the Great Western Railroad, and the Great Western was the predecessor to the Wabash Railroad, so we literally have a representative example of the railroad that Abraham Lincoln traveled on in his journey to Washington, D.C. Now, as far as today's ceremony, what we're doing is we're taking a little bit of liberty with history, and we are going to literally bring Abraham Lincoln to life as if he were still living in 1869. The locomotive that will be bringing President Lincoln to town today is an exact replica of sister locomotive Jupiter that was at Promontory Point, Utah in 1869. So literally we will be bringing Abraham Lincoln back to Monticello on a period locomotive, and I hope that everybody enjoys the presentation this afternoon. Here in front of me, this is literally a piece of rail that is authentic. This is from Emory Gap, California. This is the original piece of 1863 rail that was from the Central Pacific Railroad, and this is in one of our members' collections. So this is very, very historic. This piece of rail, the original Leviathan, also the Jupiter, and all the other locomotives that participated in building the Transcontinental Railroad would have run over this piece of railroad. So it's an extremely historic artifact that we have here present today, in addition to the President returning to Monticello. So with that, I would like to announce that we're going to reenact history, and we're going to bring Abraham Lincoln into town as if he were traveling from Champaign to Decatur after the completion of the Civil War and after the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, and just to stop and make a few comments and talk about not only this sign, but also the sign that's located out in the museum.